righty, here we go. Landon, welcome to the show, man. Welcome back. It's been a eventful week so far. Thus far, so far, everybody reported to training camp July 25th. I believe that was the Tuesday, correct? Everybody reported July 25th. Here we are getting ready for football, ready to talk about football. These updates that we've been given, great news about Shaquille Leonard, great news past his physical, eased them into practice, even though it didn't look like they were easing him in. It looked like he was going through some pretty physical drills right there. So that is great news. That is the best news we possibly could have gotten day one. But we will, unfortunately, we are going to be talking football, actual football later on tomorrow. The Blue Stable will be at training camp tomorrow. Marcus, our guy Luke, he's going to be photography there. They're going to be up there tomorrow. We are going to be talking about a pretty tricky situation right now. But before we get into that, Landon, before we get into this, man, I want to check on you. How are you?
Doing good, man. Well, as good as you can, I guess. I was sitting down last night talking to my wife about all this stuff going on. She was like, "I thought things are supposed to be quiet during the off season," and I said, "Yeah, normally they are, but not for this team, not for this ownership, not for any of this stuff." So, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. But yeah, man, it's everything else is going good though. So appreciate that. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Like you said, as best as anybody could be during this time right now. We are excited to talk about football. We're excited to actually discuss football. But unfortunately, the football gods that be over the Indianapolis franchise just can't let us do that just yet. Just not quite yet, guys. And unless you've been living under a rock, there is some beef going on behind the scenes here. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Again, today we're going to be talking about Jim Irsay versus Jonathan Taylor's agent. What does Jonathan Taylor feel? What could come out of
Hey,
this? What could the end result be? And tomorrow, well, that's when we're going to get into football because I would love nothing more than talk about
think.
football. What's up?
I think your internet's messing up, man. Like you're like cutting in and out all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me see. Hopefully, it's not my wire or anything to my headphones. Okay. Is it cutting out at all?
No, you're good now. You're good right
Okay.
now, for sure.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. But guys, tomorrow we're going to be talking about Shaquille Leonard, his update, Michael Pittman taking on that leadership role. What's the offensive line going to look like? We're going to talk about football tomorrow. Today, unfortunately, we got to talk about some drama once again going on inside the Indianapolis Colts. Before we do that, let's take a moment of silence for Chris Ballard's blood pressure and his patience and his mental health because he's been going through it for the last year or so. So let's just take a bow. All right, okay, that now we're good. Now we're good. Okay. So, to start off all of this, okay, Jonathan Taylor, of course, a few months ago got a new agency, got new representation because that was a sign that negotiations were about to pick up. He has had an MVP type year in 2021. He has been durable. This past season was the first time ever in his career he missed a practice, right, Landon? It is the first time ever he missed a practice, and he had some fumbles, some performance issues, although, again, the offensive line was pretty horrid. So that's what led to that. But also, he was also struggling with vision. He kind of went back to rookie year, first 8 games of the rookie year, Jonathan Taylor. Now we have arrived here in training camp. Chris Ballard was very encouraging, talking about an extension and, everybody wants to get paid. It sounded good. But Jim Irsay decided to open his mouth on Twitter, talk about the or talk about the running back market. Jonathan Taylor's agent decided to come back and said bad faith is not paying your top offensive player. Now, Colts fans, well, before I get to Colts fans, then today, I believe the tweet came from Mark Garofalo talking about can this relationship be fixed? His agent responds once again and says, I doubt it, shoulder shrug emoji. That okay, so the second The second tweet was a little bit unprofessional. That was just, you could have ignored it by then. I agree. But at first, it initiated from Jim Irsay. Before we get into that, Landon, I want to get your thoughts on this, man, because everybody in Colts Twitter are clowning the agent, as they should, because it is pretty unprofessional. If you wanted to say the first one, okay, the first one, I thought, okay, you get a freebie. But the second one today was a little bit, okay, was there really a need for that? I want to get your thoughts on this pretty messy situation right now.
Right. Well, I think too, like, yeah, I mean, like, even the second tweet, yeah, like that was a completely uncalled for. But if you go and look at his likes as well on Twitter, his likes about the Colts should trade JT, JT should ask for a trade, he should go to Miami. I saw one earlier, like, get your Photoshop ready, Miami, like get those jerseys photoshopped ready. So it seems like the agent's doing everything he can to like drive the narrative of JT wanting a trade and JT wanting out. Um, and the messy part of it is like when it, because that is his agent, you don't know if he's speaking for Jonathan Taylor or if he's speaking for himself. And I think that's where it's completely unprofessional, like putting a lot of that stuff out there on the internet, because you are representing Jonathan Taylor, and you're, for all we know, this could be what he's saying. And there's people now that you see that are kind of turning almost against Jonathan Taylor. Like, I think everybody was in agreement for the most part that Jim Irsay's tweet was uncalled for, even though I think it meant a completely different thing than how people took it.
Yes.
I don't think he was like directing the tweet at Jonathan Taylor. I don't think it had anything to do with JT, honestly. I think it was more along the lines of
I think
the
Najee Harris had said
negotiations,
something.
acknowledging the CBA that was negotiated,
Yeah.
and how people now want to go back and change the CBA for one position out of 20 something positions. And I think they were saying like some of the agents, like, that's just bad faith negotiating using that CBA against them whenever both parties agreed to that deal. I don't think it had anything to do with Jonathan Taylor individually. But of course, he sent that tweet out, and because they are in a negotiation with their running back, it does kind of hit home. So yeah, the agent did kind of fire back. Like I said, that's completely understandable. But I think where the agent has lost a lot of people is because, and why he represents Jonathan Taylor, and why now people are like, okay, like everybody was on JT's side whenever Jim Irsay tweeted that. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, like why would you, like why? Like what, like why even open your mouth? Like keep that behind closed doors. There's no reason to even tweet that out. And everybody's on Jonathan Taylor's side. Now it's turned into like, well, now JT's being unprofessional, his agent's being unprofessional, everything, you see on the internet now, all because of the agent's initial reaction today. Or not the initial reaction, but the stuff that you've seen today coming out of his agent's Twitter profile. And that's just not a good way to conduct business. Like, personally, for me, that's stuff that should be kept behind closed doors. And Jonathan Taylor, I mean, for all intents and purposes, is like one of the nicest, like most uncontroversial guys that you will ever come across. Like, he's so even keel. He wants to keep it behind closed doors. Like, this wasn't, I mean, you've seen him be a little more outspoken, not just him, but you've seen a lot of the running backs here recently be a lot more outspoken towards this issue. But the reality is, he's a guy, like, he showed up to camp. We heard, from Jim Bob Cooter and all that. We heard from him today. I don't know if you watched the press conference with him, but he's, JT's shown up. He's been in the meetings. He's been completely professional about it. Not making anything about himself. He's still out there, even though he's on the PUP list, not participating. He's still made himself available for, the meetings and all that kind of stuff, and learning this new system. So he's going about things fine. I think where this is kind of just falling off the rails is just from everything today. Just got completely crazy with everything, and yeah, it's a mess for sure. And we'll see if a move is made agency wise or contract wise or anything. And here's the reality of it too, man. Which I don't know. I don't know if you want to save this for like a later discussion, but like the Colts hold all the leverage in this scenario. Like, and, and I think that's just the reality of it. Is like JT can be upset and all this stuff, but I mean, you still got to play out this year. They can still tag him twice, and then at that point, because I believe the first year if they tag him's 10 million, the next year is 12 million, and after that he's 27 years old, and he's an old 27 too. Because let's not forget, this guy almost had 1,000 carries coming out of college. So I mean, this wasn't like a guy who was, in a timeshare in college and he comes into the NFL with 400 carries. This is a guy that came in with 960 something carries out of Wisconsin. We've seen him, they've been riding him pretty hard since his rookie year. So those carries are built up, and now he's 27 years old. The reality is the Colts hold all the leverage. This is a new coaching staff, a new roster. They want to see how he performs this year with the injuries that were happening last year. I fully believe if Jonathan Taylor goes out and performs like Jonathan Taylor, like a normal guy, the Colts would have absolutely zero problem paying him what he's worth. But yeah, it's just a sad situation. There's been absolutely no need for the drama, and that comes from Jim Irsay. And that goes for his agent as well. There's absolutely no need for this to play out in the public, on the internet.
Yeah. Marcus out here in the group chat over here, or not the group chat, the comment section. Feel bad for JT, but we have AR and Culture Shot in the backfield. Well, you go out there and get a few reps tomorrow in training camp, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll see you on the highlight reel.
Yeah, I'm gonna need 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns next year, Marcus.
Yep. 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. Also, a breakaway score in Germany against New England, by the way. I'm going to need that as well. So, yeah. But the part of this is where it gets really messy for me, because I don't know if there's like a history between his agent and his name. I'm sorry if Malachi Koala, I believe. I think that's how you pronounce it. This guy, I don't know if he has a past history with Jim Irsay, because an old tweet from 2012, and I don't even know if this tweet was before he came an agent, if he was already an agent, if he was representing athletes at the time. But he tweeted in 2012, owner for the Colts is an egomaniac. Polian took that sorry franchise and turned it around. That speaks pretty loud. And you know what social media is. Social media lives forever, all right? They're always going to have what you tweeted. It's always going to be resurfaced. I don't even know how this resurfaced, who went and looked for it. But obviously, this agent is now public enemy one in Colts universe, and I completely understand why. All the tweets that he's liking has to do with, get a trade request, get him out of Indianapolis. I think there was one that said get Miami to trade for him. He liked that one. I don't know if he's a Miami Dolphins fan or something. I know he
apparently he is a Dolphins fan. So
yeah, so I think he does.
So it seems like he's working in like his personal interest.
Right. And the thing for him, you're an agent. What you like on social media, you sign off on that. And you're an agent. So what you like and retweet goes beyond just, it was just a like. It goes beyond that. And not just about a like, but a like about a player on another team suggesting that player should be traded. That's another thing that's just like, dude, no other agent is out there liking these types of tweets. No other agent is out there going back and forth and throwing shots at the owner. I mean, did Jim Irsay once again have to open his big mouth? Okay, but to Landon's point, he wasn't talking about Jonathan Taylor. But the reason why it was so dumb to do is because he's talking about a running back market when at the same time his Pro Bowl running back is in negotiations. That's what I'm just like, dude, read the room. I thought we were past the drama, Jim Irsay creating drama. I thought we were past all that. And once again, he does it again. But I'm not making this big deal over Jim Irsay because, again, he was just talking about the CBA. Like, I don't know if his phone needs to be taken away. He needs to shut down Twitter, or if he shuts down Twitter, he can't do any more of his trivia that he likes to do for the fans. So, but I just don't understand why the tweet had to be made yesterday. I don't know why. Like, regardless, no other owner is out there tweeting that during the time that their players are in negotiations. What other owner is out there on Twitter talking about the market when their player, which is in said market, is in negotiation? What other owner does that? Like, can we just have an owner that's non-problematic for one season? For one season, non-problematic. It's coming. I think it's coming. But at the same time, this is just not good because Jim Irsay saying one thing, and then Jonathan Taylor's agent is going 3 steps farther in the unprofessionalism. He's going 3 steps farther. Jim Irsay said what he said. Okay, all right. We know he has a big mouth. Okay, he's a billionaire. He can do what he wants, right? It's his team. But at the same time, why does the agent have to come out and say what he said, like the tweets that he likes? Why? And which makes me think, and I tweeted this out earlier today, what is Jonathan Taylor's involvement in this? Like, I know everybody is criticizing the agent. Oh, is this how you represent your client? Maybe he's being asked to represent this way. Maybe. I don't know. And I don't think Jonathan Taylor is that kind of guy. I don't think the dude has been nothing short of a professional, an outstanding leader in the Indianapolis community. No, I don't live there, but I know for a fact that's what he's been in that city and for that franchise. He hasn't caused any problems with any teammates, with any coaches, any trainers, any analytical staff, nothing. Like, you think of when you think of leadership, I think of Dak Prescott, I think of Lamar Jackson, I think of those guys, and I put Jonathan Taylor in that class. That's the kind of leader that he is. So I don't know what's going on with this situation. What have the conversations been like over the last 48 hours between Taylor's camp and the Colts? I don't know. We don't know what those conversations have been like. But man, I do feel for Chris Ballard in this, man. Imagine all the crap, and Landon, you and I know what was being said inside some circles about the Colts and
Oh yeah.
all the goodwill Chris Ballard built over the offseason, rekindling with agents, getting to the combine, getting to the Senior Bowl. Hey, this season was not our best, but hey, he rekindled some relationships. He rebuilt some relationships. And to do all of that and then get to training camp, literally not even a week into training camp, just a few hours into it, bam, his owner goes and does this. And now they're just like, well, Chris, now what? Now what? You told us this. You told us that we were beyond this. We were past this. And man, I just come here baffled at the fact that we keep getting drama out of Indianapolis, regardless of whose fault it is. Whether if it's Chris Ballard making a bad trade for Carson Wentz, whether if it's Frank Reich not switching out Matt Pryor for Dennis Kelly, or whether if it's Jim Irsay saying something or doing something, there's drama all the time around this franchise. I don't know why. I don't know why there's always drama around this franchise. Why can't we never just be football focused? It can never be that. There's always something. There's a weird injury. The medical staff isn't being upfront. Chris Ballard isn't being upfront. Ryan Grigson isn't being upfront. Chuck Pagano isn't being upfront. Jim Irsay is forcing Chuck and Ryan to be together. Jim is forcing us as the fan base to embrace those two. They're forcing Frank Reich. They're forcing Sam Ellinger. Jim Irsay's overruling quarterback decisions. Jim Irsay's hiring TV analysts. When does the drama stop? Like, yes, it makes for like ESPN and Fox and all that stuff. Okay, all right, they get.
It's great. It's great content.
It's great content, but man, dude, it's content that I'm tired of. It's content that I'm tired of. Jeff Saturday, that whole fiasco drained all of us, did it not?
Oh yeah. Once everything ended and somehow we came out of that mess. And like in reality, a lot of it is due to Chris Ballard's goodwill around the league.
Yes.
We came out of all of that mess with Shane Steichen, by all accounts, a really great coaching staff,
yes,
and a new quarterback that the sky's the limit. Like this
Mhm.
has been the first time really since Andrew Luck retired where there's this much hope for what the future can be in this franchise. And Jonathan Taylor is a big part of that, because of how, I mean, by all accounts, he's the best player on your team, or at least your offense,
Mhm.
Now it's not the most important position, obviously, with, we know how the running back market is, but when Jonathan Taylor is at his best, we have seen him be the best player at his position in the National Football League.
Facts.
There's nobody else on this Colts roster you can say that about except maybe Quentin Nelson and Shaq Leonard.
And you can't even say that about Michael Pittman because of the revolving door at quarterback that has been
Yeah,
ever since
yeah.
he entered the league. Like you and I think he's wide receiver one, that he can
I
dominate.
think,
But
I think he's a one for sure.
yeah, but there's been no consistency at the position,
Right.
so he can't build off of it. But what has been consistent is your center, your right tackle, your left guard, and Jonathan Taylor can work with that. He can build on it. I mean, the fact that he had a horrible 8 game stretch in his rookie season and still ended up with 1,000 yards rushing is incredible. It is incredible. After 8 games, he had, I think it was 213 rushing yards, and then ended his rookie year 1,000 yard rusher. How? 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 That is talent. So, Landon, I don't know what needs to happen. With either you extend this man or you don't. Like, stop all the BS. Extend the man and let's get the freaking football, man. I'm so
Yeah.
tired of talking about drama. I know the Colts fans are tired of drama. Like whether if it's the agent being childish, is JT not speaking up? Is JT not gonna fire the agent? I know nobody wants to talk about Jim Irsay. He's untouchable to some fans. But man, can all of this stop? Can all of this just stop? And again, I come back to that question. What does JT think about all this? Like, I just don't buy it, me personally. Doing some research on this agent, he represents some pretty high profile athletes. He does. So he's
Well,
also in the UFC.
he represents Shaquille Leonard.
Yes.
Yeah,
And he
he's
represents
Shaquille
some
Leonard's agent.
UFC fighters. And
Yeah.
my thing is, this is not just some lowball agent that's going rogue. Why would he do that? He
Yeah.
represents guys on the team that Jonathan Taylor is on. He represents UFC fighters. He represents guys in the NBA. He represents guys in the NFL. Why is he just voluntarily going rogue and just talking about, just going off on Jim Irsay and liking these tweets? I don't that right there, because I'm giving the agent the benefit of the doubt. That right there makes me wonder, what is JT's involvement in this? What is it?
Well, all
Like,
right. So here's what I know as far as what's going on with this situation. Here's what I know. Jonathan Taylor wants an extension before his rookie deal is up. He doesn't want to be franchise tag. He wants to be paid now, before the deal is up based off of his past performances. I have no problem with that. Happens all the time.
all
It
the
is
time.
what it is. The Colts, because of the injury last year, the coaching staff, so much turnover, you know, they want to see how he meshes with everything this year. And if everything goes to plan, they want to extend him after this season. They want this season to play out with the new quarterback, the new coaching staff, all that. Then they want to make the extension. They hold all the leverage right now.
Yep.
So that's where they're far apart. JT wants to be extended now. The Colts want to let things play out and extend him later if everything goes to plan. It's not that the Colts don't want to pay him. That's not the thing at all. Chris Ballard and everybody in that organization loves Jonathan Taylor. They just want to see how things play out with all the turnover within the new coaching staff and the quarterback this year before they go handing out huge money to a running back. Um, it's not about them not wanting to pay Jonathan Taylor. I think it's just the timeline where both parties aren't on the same page because JT, as a player, which I completely support, wants to be paid right now. But something that I've learned over the years, as far as how these things go, is you don't pay for past performance, you pay for future performance. You don't give big money guys big money based on the past. You give them big money based on what you think they will do in the future on that contract, which I think is what Chris Ballard really believes in his philosophy. And we've seen here recently it come back to bite them in the butt with the huge extensions for Shaq Leonard and the huge extensions for Quentin Nelson. Because both of those guys last year had really down year and they were taking up a significant portion of this cap space. So I think the Colts have been very cautious about doing that again before they see what Jonathan Taylor looks like in this new scheme with a new quarterback, with a new coaching staff. And that's all it is. They just want it to play out this year. They still control him for at least this year and 2 more years after if they need to use the franchise tag. And I think right now they're more focused on the Michael Pittman extension, is where their focus is going towards. There have been talks over the last few months about an extension with JT. I don't think they're too far apart money-wise, but I just think that they just want to let time play itself out. So with all this drama, even with all this stuff, I still think JT is the utmost professional. He'll still come to work. He'll still do what needs to be done. And I do think at the end of the day, Jonathan Taylor, unless he just makes the decision, which people can talk a big game, as we saw with Saquon Barkley, but when you're staring at losing all that money by setting out and not playing, it's a completely different conversation. I think JT will come to work. I think he'll be a Colt. I think an extension gets done. I think he's a Colt at least for the next 2 seasons for sure. I don't think we have to worry about him going anywhere. And I do honestly, in my opinion, think an extension gets done next offseason with Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, I think that's what the Colts are focusing on. They want to see how everything plays out this year because of the injury last year, because of all the turnover. And then they're looking at that extension taking place next offseason. Where they're different is JT wants the extension to be done this offseason before his rookie deal is up. He doesn't want to play on the franchise tag, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, to be fair, Jonathan Taylor has completely outplayed his contract, 100%. I believe his contract was 4 years, like almost $5 million.
I think it was, in total, yeah.
Yeah, like total 4 years, 4-point-something million. So, yeah, he's completely outperformed his contract. And as we know, guys can go down in training camp, as we've seen today with Jalen Ramsey, with Joe Burrow. Guys can go down in training camp, and that affects their money. So, yeah, I'm all for players wanting to get their money up front as quick as they can, and secure their future. And I think that's just where JT stands on the issue. That's just what I know is going on. That's how the Colts are thinking. That's how Jonathan Taylor's camp is thinking. They're just in different places as far as when they want the extension to be handed out.
And you can rest assured that Jonathan Taylor's not suiting up in preseason. Like that's already a given.
No.
Like no starting running back is suiting up in the preseason. So we can already.
I mean, like he might play like a series or two just because it is a new coaching staff. Yeah, I mean, like so? It's a new scheme. It's a new coaching staff. Okay. So he might play a series maybe in the preseason, just to get those live reps, to get pads on pads, to get the contact and stuff. Because that stuff does make a difference going into the season. Like you don't want your first contact to be week 1, snap 1. Like you want to ease guys in gradually with that.
That's what they did with him last year. But again, this is a new scheme, new leadership, new everything. So I don't know. I mean, he missed out the entire preseason, came back against Houston week 1, I think had 128 rushing yards. Hey, it's definitely plausible. And I get where you're coming from. I would be surprised if he suits up in the preseason, honestly. Just me personally. But everything you say.
Yeah, I mean, they might do that. But I think Shane Steichen is a little bit different as far as how he's conducting business, because he is right now. They're laying a foundation of intensity and toughness and hitting. Like these practices you'll see in training camp, especially when they ramp up here in the next 3 weeks or so. Um, they're they're going to be really going after it. Like it's not going to be like the Frank Reich like walkthroughs where
Yeah.
everybody's like having fun, and everything's you're just going through the motions. Um, and some coaches can get away with that. I know that's how some guys off, but or some I know that's how some guys conduct, their businesses as far as their training camps and stuff. Shane Steichen's almost the complete opposite. Like they're instilling how they want this team to be, like physical, tough, intense, attacking, and those practices will reflect that here in the pretty near future. You'll see it be a little bit more, I guess, physical is the best word, a little bit more physical than what you're used to in an Indianapolis Colts training camp.
And Shane Steichen already talked about that day one yesterday, and even now, even in their walkthroughs and everything, they're going a little bit more up tempo. It's not just going to be walkthroughs. It's not just going to be a walk in the park. You're coming out here and you're going to compete, and that's something that I love. It's something that I wasn't always keen on with Frank Reich. Like, okay, why aren't practices going a little bit harder? Like, get them in pads, okay? Don't be afraid to put them in pads. Come on, go out there, go hit somebody. Maybe that's why they were so bad at tackling last year. I don't know, but for this situation here, because we've talked about Jim Irsay having fault, we've talked about Taylor's representation having fault. What does it do? Because as of right now, things are very ugly. I'm not sure if it can get even more ugly than this. I don't think this is going to happen. Again, I think Taylor is a Colt for the next 2 to 3 years. Like you said, honestly, like you said, I think he'll be here for 2 to 3 years. But what has to happen? Do you think that his camp has approached him? Hey, if you want to do a trade, what are some teams you want to go? Just so we can start laying some groundwork if things don't go our way. Because like you said, they want extension now. This isn't going to happen because I don't see anybody doing this for a running back, especially for Jonathan Taylor. I don't think there's a team out there that's going to trade for a running back and then extend him for 12 to 15 million dollars. I just don't see a team doing that, especially teams that have drafted in this deep running back class just like what 3 4 months ago. Got some running backs in free agency. Got running backs in 2 off seasons ago. That it just doesn't seem plausible to me. Do you think at any point, do you think it's possible a trade request comes on Jonathan Taylor's side?
Um, Honestly, no, I don't see it happening just because I don't know if he's that type of guy. I think his agent might be, a little bit different, but I don't think
Yeah.
JT would do that. If he, it, but in the off chance that it does happen, the Colts won't trade him, um, just because they have no leverage. That's kind of what I was saying is like, you know, they control him for this year, and they can use the franchise tag the next 2 seasons if they decide to do that. Um, and that's really the reality of the situation for Jonathan Taylor is he can want what he wants, but him and his camp have almost zero leverage in this situation. And at that point, it becomes very much like the Saquon Barkley thing, where it's either okay, yeah, you can show up, play, be professional, who we all know JT to be, the
Yep.
consummate professional. He's been referred to in that building as Superman, like Clark Kent. Like that's the type of guy he is. Um, but yeah, well, Brian makes a great point there. It, his camp has there's no leverage.
They're maybe
So
trying to create leverage, and
yeah,
it's
they
not
can
the
try
good
to create
leverage you
leverage
want.
all they want, but that's not the reality of it. So
Nope.
yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you can either set out, be fined tons of money, lose what money you do have, or you can show up, go to work, come to business, and then hopefully be rewarded after that, which I think is the route that will happen. But yeah, even if he requests a trade, um, I don't see the Colts moving him because there's no reason for them to do so unless they get a Christian McCaffrey Godfather type offer where somebody's offering their second, third, fourth, and fifth round picks in a draft,
which no one is doing in
which no
July
one
or
is
August.
doing
Nope.
because like that's another thing with Jonathan Taylor, and I think this does like hurt his value some, is because he's not a every down multifaceted back like Christian McCaffrey, where you can line him up in the slot at wide receiver or you can have him do all this other stuff. He's very much strictly a Derrick Henry style downhill, you know, zone read type of runner. He's not going to give you a ton in the passing game. He might catch 30 balls.
Even pass protection, he struggled last year.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think that's where the Colts want to see how things play out because there was so much last year that went wrong, and specifically with guys like I said, where they already gave those big extensions out with Quentin Nelson and Shaq Leonard, who Shaq barely played last year. We know the injury issues. The Quentin Nelson had a really down year, and they're tying up, $40-45 million just on those two players in their cap. They just want to let this year play out. This is a year of evaluation for the Colts. This is them evaluating everything from their offensive line, their new quarterback, the defense. Like, this is an evaluation year to see, like, hey, where are we as a franchise, and how do we best prepare for the future with Anthony Richardson? How do we ease him into this, give him the confidence to succeed? This is not about 2023. This is about 2025. And they want to let the process play itself out this year before they get into all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, even if he requests a trade, they're not going to trade him. He's gonna either set out and cost himself a ton of money, which I don't see him doing, just because he's not that type of guy, or he will continue to be the JT we all know and love, where he comes to work, he performs, he's a consummate professional for this franchise and for this community.
And this thing in the locker room. Even if he doesn't get his extension, those guys on his team are going to be motivated to perform and make sure he performs well so he gets his money. That's just how those guys are together. Him and Michael Pittman are in the same boat. I mean, that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, guys want to see other guys get paid.
Yeah, offensive line is going to come in motivated. They're going to want to create those openings. And hey, who knows? Maybe Jonathan Taylor explodes 7 games in the season and he forces Chris Ballard, give me my money now. And boom, extension time.
Exactly.
Like maybe
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I don't see a trade going, whether if it's Jonathan Taylor pissed off at the worst. I just don't see it. I see him suiting up. And plus, again, I mean, him and Saquon were in the same boat. Only difference was Saquon was missing out on $10 million. Jonathan Taylor would miss out on what, $2.5 million? So
yeah,
it's different. It's different. And like you said, everyone's talk. Everyone can talk the talk, but it turns out nobody can walk the walk. Le'Veon Bell walked the walk, and look at how that turned out. So
especially too with Le'Veon Bell, because he just came out recently, a week or two ago, and said if he had to do it over again, he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't. Mm-hmm. He would have stayed in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So I mean, it's just the unfortunate reality of the running back position. It sucks, but that's just the way this league is built. It's the way this league is heading. And for even as great as guys like Austin Eckler and Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor and all these guys are, Derrick Henry. I believe Derrick Henry is only making $12.5 million a year. And we just saw, Derrick Henry is probably the best running back of this generation right now over the last 5 years. And he's making basically what Cole Kmet makes.
And imagine this. Now, this is just a hypothetical I'm throwing out, and not just because he's my guy and we interviewed him, but Alvin Kamara is getting paid how much in New Orleans? I'm not sure if he's going to play out there week 1, depending on what happens with his legal stuff. But the guy that they just drafted in the 3rd round, Kendre Miller, Alvin Kamara, as much as he does in the passing game, he's getting paid that much. But if they draft Kendre Miller and he's a rookie making what, $1.5 million a year, and he goes for 1,000 yards. I mean, that's just the reality of the running back
I
position.
mean, we have Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's had 4
He's a
straight
free
1,000-yard
agent.
season, and he's a free agent, and nobody's wanting to pay him big money.
No, because they already got rookies on or running backs on rookie contracts. They
Yeah.
already do. So it's unfortunate, man. And I really hate that this is happening to a guy like Jonathan Taylor. I hate that this is happening to anybody. I hate that this is happening to anybody. Unfortunately, it's the reality of the NFL. The running back position is just not that valuable 3 years after their rookie contract. Unfortunately, unless you're a Frank Gore, which you probably get one of those every generation, not everybody can go for 1,000 yards for 13 straight seasons like Frank Gore did. So that's, I guess, where we're at. I really hope this blows
And,
over quick, man.
and
I
this is
hope
my last point too. I'll just say this too, because Jim Irsay has dealt with this before. Because I don't know, maybe I'm aging myself here. But I don't know if a lot of our younger fans remember the Edgerrin James contracts talks that really kind of fell apart. Because Edge had probably one of the greatest one of the greatest rookie contracts that a running back has ever had. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player just based off of that rookie contract. And those talks fell apart. Edgerrin James, the Colts called his bluff. They sent him to Arizona. He ended up going to the Cardinals. The year that Edgerrin James left this franchise, the very next season, the Colts won the Super Bowl without it. So Jim Irsay has dealt with this before, and they won't be budged.
like maybe I could see if Jim Irsay fell for it, because again, Jim Irsay is the same guy that overruled Chris Ballard and signed T.Y. Hilton when Chris Ballard didn't want to. But Chris Ballard, now that he's the backbone of Jim Irsay, we know Chris Ballard's not going to give in to anybody. There's not a damn agent that he'll give in to. Not at all. He is firm in his belief. He's old school. He's firm in his belief. He's going to do things the way he wants to do them, the way he has built the foundation in.
And they like Chris Ballard, but Chris Ballard pays his guys.
He does, and that's been proven.
That's what I'm saying. If it's proven, so Jonathan Taylor shows up this year, goes to work, puts together another season like Jonathan Taylor does, he'll get paid. That's all there is to it. I think there's just a hassle on Jonathan Taylor wants the money now. The Colts want to let everything play out, possibly just do it next offseason.
And who knows? Maybe Chris Ballard, and this is just a hypothetical, this isn't educated. Who knows? Maybe Chris Ballard is aiming for $12 to $13 million right now. But if Jonathan Taylor comes to work, is professional, is a leader, and shows out, maybe
which he is all of those things.
Yeah, maybe, which he is all of those things. Maybe he's looking at a $15, $16 million extension. Maybe.
I don't know about that.
Hey, I'm just saying this is a hypothetical. That's why I prefaced it was not educated. So I'm just saying Chris Ballard is the guy who has shown that he's going to pay his players, regardless of what position they play. He is going to pay them. Whether we can talk for an hour about how left guard and off-ball linebacker do not need to be at the top of your cap list. But
right.
you know who doesn't give a damn about that? Chris Ballard. Because he drafted them, they performed, they're leaders, and they got paid. So that's that, guys. I really hope this is the worst it gets. I really hope things get better over the next couple weeks. I really hope, because, dude, I'm so tired of drama. I'm so tired.
I believe they will. Things have a way. Things have a way, as we've seen this offseason, where even when things look at their worst, there's always somewhere in the middle. They're never as bad as they look. It's never as good as it looks. It's always somewhere in the middle. So I think things, as training camp ramps up, JT gets put off the PUP list. He'll go out there and perform. Everybody will be laughing about this in a month from now. They'll be like, man, remember when his agent was going off the rails? And I mean, it'll all pass. It's not as bad as it looks on Twitter. It's also not as good as it always looks. Everything's just always right in the middle. So I think that's where everybody needs to keep their belief, just right in the middle.
I think the in-between needs to be Chris Ballard and the Irsay daughters creating a tour for Jim Irsay to get out of Indianapolis for the next 2 months, so he can stay away from these negotiations. Like, Jim, you've done enough. Here, go do some concerts. We already, got the marketing done. We reserved the venues. Go do some concerts. And then out of nowhere, Jonathan Taylor's extended. Okay, yeah, I had to get Jim Irsay out of here because, man, he just wasn't helping. Dude, before we get out of here, I don't know what Chris Ballard is getting paid, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's just not enough, dude. I feel for this man for what he has been through, but the fact that he is so disciplined, he's patient, and he shows like Jonathan Taylor, regardless of the crap that is going on, out of everything that happened this past season, Chris Ballard did not resign. He did not talk badly about Jim Irsay. He did not talk badly about Frank Reich. He just said, hey, we're going to get better, and we're going to be better from this. And
they had a great offseason.
Great offseason. Great head coach. Great offensive staff. Got your future quarterback.
Fantastic draft. Yeah.
Fantastic draft. Even got another vet quarterback to help out your rookie. And that's that. So Chris Ballard, thank the Lord we have Chris Ballard. That's the saving grace in all of this.
I mean, hey, you still got to win football games.
You still got to win football games. And
you can have the greatest drafts and the greatest coaching hires, and you can do all that. Still got to win football games.
Still got to win the AFC South, which you haven't done since 2014. So hopefully our time is coming. Probably not happening this year, but hey, who knows?
Probably not this year, but
who knows?
The future looks bright.
It is bright, guys, but hopefully this is the worst it gets. Nothing else comes of this. We want to talk football. Speaking of talking football, we will be back tomorrow because we had to, discuss this childish act between two grown men. Because we had to discuss this, we're going to be back tomorrow. At least I will. Landon, Marcus, we'll see where they are. But we will be back tomorrow discussing all the tidbits from training camp, updates on Shaq, which is great news. If you've been living under a rock, Shaq has been passed. He's passed his physical. He's back out on the field. He was doing some individual linebacker.
I've been telling y'all.
Hey, man, I'm glad. I love it. I love it. Michael Pittman Jr. stepping up as a leader. Kenny Moore seems to have his swagger back. Let's get it.
Had a good practice yesterday. Stood out.
There you go. So there's some great things to talk about. We will be back tomorrow to talk about all of those things because we care about football more than drama. This is grown men business. Let's focus on football. So other than that, guys, he's Landon. I am Michael. And we will see you back here tomorrow. Hopefully you've already listened to the show, whether if it was now or tomorrow when it's up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, whatever the case may be. But thank you for watching, by the way. This is the exciting time. We're excited. Things are getting underway. And other than that, Landon, anything else?
No, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, guys. See ya. Go Colts.